This is the brand new GAN 15 and I genuinely think that it could be better than the 12. With them completely changing how this cube feels from the 14, have GAN finally got a competitive 3x3 again, or is this all too little too late? Well, there are 5 things that I like about this cube, 3 features which are slightly annoying, and 2 absolute deal breakers which GAN needs to fix before the next version. But we will start with the good things, and despite them receiving a lot of hate for removing the adjustable magnets, I actually think that they made the right decision. At this point, everyone knows that pretty much all cubes are going to get you close to your normal average regardless of what brand it is, and being able to tweak how strong the corner magnets are is likely going to make barely any difference to your times. So by them just choosing one strength, it ensures that the setup of this cube takes a very small amount of time and is nowhere near as tedious as it was on other GAN cubes. And if you really do want to adjust the strength, then they do provide some rods which you can change to be stronger or weaker, but there is more I want to say about these later. Moving on, and another thing that they have changed from previous versions is that there is now only one variant of this cube. Therefore, you no longer have to make the decision between frosted and UV or maglev and springs, as they have already chosen what makes the best cube without having a bunch of different choices. Personally, I really like that they have done this, because it makes my videos a whole lot more universal to anyone who buys the GAN 15, as there are no discrepancies between what I say and what others think. But for normal customers, it's beneficial because of how much easier it makes the buying process, and reduces the chances that you'll be disappointed you didn't select a different version. Speaking of the buying process, if you want to buy this cube or plenty more, then check out speedcubeshop.com with the link in the description. You can use discount code UKCuber for 5% off any order, so make sure you go there when you next want to buy any puzzles. But moving on to the actual feel of this cube, and what I like about it when comparing it to other cubes like the Tornado or WRM is how much more airy and light this one is. The 15 really reminds me of how good the 11 and 12 were when they first came out, because they felt very similar to this one, and I don't think that other brands are focusing as much on making their 3x3s light because they don't see it as a big thing. However, after trying this one, I can say that it is so much easier to do long sessions without any strain because of how smooth each turn is, whilst the cube is also effortless to hold and move. And the last 2 things that I like about this cube are fairly small, but the UV coating is really nice as it provides a lot of grip, and the tensioning system is still really good, with it being very similar to all of the previous years. And before I move on to the features which are slightly irritating, only 10% of the people watching are subscribed, so if you are enjoying this video, just double check that you are part of that 10%, and if not, consider changing it. But the first feature that is somewhat annoying is that the 15 is just really loud. It genuinely gets to the point where I struggle to focus on the solve because of how much noise comes from each set of turns or algorithms. And whilst lubing the cube does offer some dampening to the sound, it is still much more than any other 3x3 that I have mained recently. However, this is only a minor issue because I'm sure I'll get used to it over time, and if you are listening or watching something while solving, it doesn't really matter anyway. The second thing that I mildly dislike, which I mentioned earlier, is that they have included adjustable corner feet magnets. Personally, I feel like if they insist on making some of the magnets changeable, they should have just kept the same adjustments as the 12 or 13, where you can make them stronger or weaker with a screwdriver on the walls of the corner pieces. The fact that they have made it so you have to pull out and reinsert a bunch of rods ruins the whole thing about not giving us adjustable magnets. I think that this is just a big waste of time, and if they really believe people care that much, then they shouldn't have gotten rid of the corner adjustments in the first place. But this isn't too big of an issue because it doesn't affect the actual cube, and is rather just something that I dislike. And now, before we move on to the deal breakers, the last thing that I find irritating is the center caps. You've probably heard loads of people complain about this, so I'll keep this part short, but in the last 5 years of me owning GAN cubes, I've never had an issue where the center cap falls out. So far, I found it incredibly annoying to have to use this tool every time I want to try a new setup because of how much effort it takes to do this. But now let's look at the deal breakers. And first of all, this cube feels really blocky whilst also being incredibly unstable at the same time. Usually it would be one or the other, where you can adjust the tensions to reduce the one that you don't want and increase the one that isn't as much of an issue for your style. However, on the 15, I often find myself losing control of the turns whilst also locking up because of how tight it is. And so far, I found that this can't be fixed because if you make the cube tighter, the corner cutting becomes terrible, and if you make it looser, there is zero chance of being able to control the turning. Therefore, I find the 15 really unreliable during fast solves, and on a couple of occasions I've ruined a really good time by losing control and then locking up on the last algorithm. On a similar note, the second deal breaker is that this cube still has the same issue with catches, which just shouldn't happen. This is what made the 14 and 13 unusable for a lot of people, so it's odd that GAN haven't put their full effort into getting rid of this issue. Personally, I've never experienced experienced anything similar on any other cube, so it doesn't make sense to me why they've struggled so much with this problem. Therefore, if you bought the 13 or 14 and had this issue, then maybe the 15 isn't going to suit you either. But if you have tried this cube, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.